Hello everyone and welcome back to Let's Play Pokemon Ranger. In the last part, we found ourselves in the depths of the Labyrinth Grove in Lyra Forest, and we found the old man we were looking for. He's a little ominous, but oh well. And now it's time for another new Pokemon, and there it goes. That's Hoppip. Hoppip doesn't actively have an attack, it just floats around like Jigglypuff. In groups with other Pokemon, it can be kind of annoying if they decide to go radically different directions, but on its own, not anything to really worry about. Hoppip floats on the air to waft about. Where it goes depends only on the winds. Also, I'd like to note, I brought up a few parts ago, I didn't remember if Beautifly was findable anywhere else in the game. There it is. This is, I think, the only other screen you can easily find Beautifly. Maybe. There's a lot of one-off screens like that. Oh, you again. Bye.
Is that the heckling Murkrow? Being called a buffoon must have stung.
Labyrinth Grove. The scenery is confusingly similar. There are other signs like this, too. So, this is a Lost Woods situation. There are two paths in front of us, but if you go down the wrong path at the wrong time, you loop back to the start. You need to go the southern path, then the northern path, then the southern path in order to actively exit here. But there are some new Pokemon along the way, like Nincada here. Nincada does have an active attack with its claws when it tries to dig, but otherwise it does move the same way that Diglett did. So, trying to capture it depends on it being above the ground when it's about to probably attack anyway. Be quick on the draw, because this Pokemon can be a little bit tricky. Nincada burrows underground. It can cut things with its claws. Despite being only in like one or two very early game routes back in Gen 3, Nincada's line is like one of the preeminent lines of Pokemon for that gen in my memory. And I think it's entirely because I used one as a cut user for so long for HM usage. Oh, hello again.
All right. That wretched Murkrow again. It bears a grudge badly. Impressive. But what is this dark haze? Why does it cling so? Get me out of this dank misery of a forest at once.
Alright, it's pretty self-explanatory. There's just a path here to the south. Or so I thought. I sense trickery afoot. And now you circle around again. I wonder what that means, as the Phanpy stares on unknowing.
What is this? We've returned to the same spot, and that Murkrow. Hear it cackle at us ominously. Your ranger, do something about that wretched thing.
Alright, well thankfully it's in a tree, which can be activated with a single strength type field move, and Phanpy has just that. The big tree is teetering back and forth. Hi. You just gonna slowly walk away after that?
What the? It dares to impede us. Well, what are you waiting for? There's your cue. Capture that irksome Murkrow already.
Alright. But the Murkrow's got friends! Murkrow and for Spinarak. We've dealt with Spinarak before. If you have a flying type move, which I got from a Swellow before this, that makes this fight much easier because you can just keep them out of the way while their large webs are not happening. Murkrow's main attack is to actively darken the field while spreading essentially a, I guess, just mist version of the Poison Cloud effect that the Coughings and such could spurt forward. The haze itself doesn't damage you, but the clouds that immediately leave the Murkrow can. Be a little careful, this fight can be a little rough, mostly just due to the high amount of targets and how much ground their attacks can cover at once. Having a multi-targeting Pokesys like the flying type move, or at least having Plus and Mine and Charged Up can help a lot with this. Though I do want to say, one of my favorite sprites in the game is actually Murkrow while it's doing its attack like that. Something about that just looks really cool, and I don't think they've ever represented that on Murkrow otherwise with attacks in the series, from memory at least. Murkrow line's not one I tend to use a lot. I use it a little more in Gen 4 Beyond because of the evolution it gained, but Gen 3 and prior, definitely no, not really. And there we go. This is definitely one of those fights you don't want to get greedy with trying to get extra experience on as well, by the way. Murkrow misleads people that enter its forest. Don't lose sight of it. There it goes.
That dark haze lifted upon your capturing that Murkrow. Was it creating that haze? But it annoys me to know when to be toyed with by such a wretch. Enough! Release the vile thing!
Okay, God, I don't have to yell.
How much of my time must you waste? Get me out of this forest once and for all.
Alright, dude, goddamn. Hi there. Bye?
That was the Go-Rock squad. I've heard they're roundly reviled and ridiculed as wrongdoers. However, how much of that reputation is fair or warranted? Perhaps they are merely and grossly misunderstood. Why, they may be more useful than some worthless ranger who can barely manage the simple task of a guide.
Subtle jab, subtle.
Ah, I see where we are. I can manage on my own from here. I should say that you were successful for what it's worth. I enjoyed our brief time together, you Union Ranger.
Yay? Do I get to do a cool laugh now? Bye. Oh, hey, Murph. You just bump into someone and then laugh? That's just rude. Was that the old gent, the one that requested the mission? You sure came across high and mighty. That's some laugh. Hey, Kyle, I just finished my mission too. It was sure worthwhile doing it. Do you want to hear about it? Did you just shrug? No, you didn't say anything. Oh, alright, I guess I'll tell you. It was a big mission too. I don't usually get to do anything important, but this one was. I went with Arya into caves and other places to get on the trail of the Go-Rock squad. You know how Arya can be really moody? That made the mission that much harder. Are you tired? Want to go back? Yeah, I could do with some rest. And thus ends that chapter. The lost senior citizen may have been somewhat eccentric, but he must have felt scared and lonely. Seeing you must have been a great relief to him in that dark, forbidding forest. You've also done well to put up with his ungrateful attitude. All in all, an excellent job. Kyle, I hereby certify you as Ranger Rank 7. Look, I know it was kind of a maze of a forest, but this doesn't feel like it's nearly as worth the rank as some of the other ones have been. This is a great rank, though, because not only do we get the Dark Pokey assists, and the Ghost Pokey assists. Another thing, Kyle, you're now authorized to be accompanied by up to 6 friend Pokemon in addition to your partner. This is incredibly handy for any kind of boss fight. But there's one last thing. Kyle, you're now authorized to operate your shot with a 4-segment partner gauge. This is where Plusle and Minun start to really come into their own in terms of usability. You just take so much energy to get up to level 4 to begin with. But what was that senior citizen doing where no one would dare to go? There's something not right. Nostada received a text message from Cameron to Kyle. Thanks for helping Percy out with that Politoad rescue. If you're not on any important mission, could you come out to the Summerlands Ranger base? I've got something for you. It's something really awesome, so you can look forward to it, seriously. What's that? You got a message from Cameron? He wants you to visit him in Summerland? Alright, this might actually be a good opportunity. Kyle, since you've gotten up in rank, I'm going to authorize the use of the Dragonite bus. Come upstairs, Kyle. Ah, yes. Finally. We've only been seeing the Dragonite since, what, part 2 or so? We're finally gonna have access to the best way to get around Fiore in the game. Hey, I got the good news from the leader. Good going. You're hoping to get to Summerland, yeah? Well, hop right on and hang on, is what I'd like to tell you, but things are never as simple as that. See, you can ride the Dragonite bus only if the Dragonite accepts you as a genuine ranger. And how exactly do you get Dragonite to accept you? Well, you're a ranger, aren't you? Capture and get your feelings across to Dragonite. That's how it works, Kyle. Before you joined us, do you remember what you wrote in your 7 letters? No. This is what you wrote in one of them. Pokemon aren't tools. Pokemon aren't just vehicles. People and Pokemon can share their feelings and benefit together from it. It's not a one-way street. By sharing our abilities, people can even fly, and Pokemon can be made happier. I read that letter over and over. I have it memorized now. Well, Kyle, here's your chance to prove those lofty words to be sincere. Alright, Kyle, you ready now? I guess? Good answer. Here goes, then. Put all your feeling into this capture. Dragonite can be kind of tricky. For one thing, large sprite to begin with, so you need large loops, so if you're at lower level, you're kind of out of luck. But its main attack is to shoot tornadoes out of itself while it flies around at angles that are pretty hard to avoid. The moment it stops down on the floor every now and then, you have a good opportunity because it doesn't take too many loops to capture, but be careful all the same. Dragonite transports rangers from town to town if they're deemed to be worthy. That capture was quite the show. Sort of reminded me of the leader style somehow. Dragonite, do you accept Kyle as a genuine ranger? It seems to me Kyle's feelings got across the Dragonite fine. Congratulations, you can now ride the Dragonite bus anytime you like. It'll be a quick flight on this Dragonite to any of the ranger bases you've already visited. Say hi to Cameron for me when you get to Summerland. But you said he's got something good he wants to give you? Well, you'll see when you get there. Okay, Dragonite, it's showtime. Top speed to Summerland with Kyle, alright? Hop to it. Oh, that was nice and painless. Kyle, keeping up with your capturing? I bet you are. Our leader called you to Summerland, didn't he? I'll go fetch him, just sit tight. I mean, it's like a 2-minute walk, not even, so I think it would have been fine. Oh, Kyle, welcome, welcome. We didn't thank you properly last time, so there's something I want you to have. I left it in the ranger base. Come on, go inside quick. Poor Kyle. Our leader has an odd compulsion to give weird gifts that no one wants. He doesn't mean any harm by it, which makes it actually worse. What do we got here? I love it. Well, isn't it awesome? I found it in the Sapphire Sea. You can have it. It's a gift from me to you. What is it you ask? The mechanic behind you will be the best person to answer that. That thing is an underwater vehicle, a submersible. It was made a good number of years ago. I think they named it the Aquamo. But the way it is now, it's nothing but a big pile of junk in anyone's eyes. Now, if I had the necessary parts, I might be able to fix it, but... Well, hold on. Junk? You call this junk? I object to that. You have no appreciation of beauty. Look at it. It's a fabulous piece of art. Feel dreamy at the sight of it. Junk? No. Don't call it junk. Oh, wow, Kyle. I didn't know you were over here. Ranking up steadily? Cameron, I came across an ancient building deep in the jungle while on patrol. What is it? That's the jungle relic. There's a legend about it named the 4 challenges. Rangers over the years have gone there to see how they do on those challenges. Just be careful. The legend says you're not to clear the 4th and final one. If you do, a great calamity shall befall us, according to legend. When they were younger, Spencer and Joel took the challenge to see how they measured up. Me? I make a point of not going anywhere that's remotely dangerous. Hey, but if you got the time, it might be good for you to visit. Listen, Kyle, it might be fun to test our skills. Want to go out to the jungle relic? Sure. That's the spirit. I knew you'd do it, Kyle. If you're gonna tackle the challenges, I'd better tell you how to get inside the jungle relic. The entrance is on a raised hill deep in the jungle. It's where Kyle rescued Percy's Politail before. You'll find a weird stone statue there. There's a hidden switch in the statue. And that switch exposes a set of stairs that go down to the jungle relic. Be careful in there. A stone statue? Understood. We're off to the jungle relic. And thus, our next chapter begins. Also, just to save a little bit of time, we are going to be cutting out part of our trek through all of jungle because we've seen it before. There's nothing new along the way, barring a cutscene or two. Supposedly, there's a small lake that's connected to the Sapphire Sea. This is just a hunch, but I guess that lake's water has a salty tang to it. Sounds about right. I've heard stories like that happening in reality. Oh, wait a minute. Wasn't there a Snorlax asleep on the road a little past the bridge? I bet it's still there. I hope people aren't stuck trying to get around it. If someone files a complaint about it, we'll have to do something about that Snorlax, but we haven't heard a thing so far. Plusle, Minun, where are you going? Oh. I'm sure this is fine. What are you two doing? Stop that, you're hurting Snorlax. I feel like it's relatively unfazed. Get down off that Snorlax at once. You know you're not supposed to do that, Plusle, and Minun, you too. Yes, that belly jiggles and makes a funny sound, but Snorlax isn't a musical instrument or a trampoline. That's enough of your games, sheesh. Did Plusle and Minun... Did they do that because they thought people were upset by the Snorlax blocking the path? You two are cheering Pokemon. Were you trying to help us do our jobs? If that's what you were doing, I'm sorry for getting angry with you, but you also have to consider Snorlax's feelings too. Do you understand? Plusle? Minun? Looks like you do. Well, okay, how's this then? If Kyle and I are in real trouble, how about helping us then? Can you promise that? Okay, everyone, let's move out to the jungle relic. Well, that was adorable, I guess. That's the only cutscene in the actual jungle on the way to the relic, though, so now we're just gonna come all the way back towards the back of the area for the actual jungle relic itself. Is this the statue that Cameron mentioned? There should be a hidden switch on it somewhere. This part here sticking out a little bit. Is this the switch? There's only one way to find out. Click! Either we've done it right or we've doomed the world. Huh, that was startling. Well, this looks like the entrance. Shall we go in? I mean, I see no reason not to. But beyond here is counted as a different area, so the Glygars I have to go bye-bye. Oh well, not a big loss. This upcoming part of the game is really cool, but it's also pretty rough. To the point where I mentioned back when we captured Muck in the Waterworks that boss, I was stuck on that for a while. I was stuck on this part for more than the rest of the game combined. Growing up. 3 challenges, and what? Who could have imagined there'd be something like this? I mean, under the ground and in the jungle? Pretty little underground lake. What if there's a Crystal Onyx anywhere nearby? I feel a chilly draft flowing out. What's ahead of us here? There's some writing engraved on this tablet. Let me read it. The challenge of water. The wrathful streams of water dragons you must elude lest you lose your way. What awaits are the familiars of water whose angry spirits seek serenity at your hands. Whence they are so calm, the seal of stone shall be no more, bringing conclusion upon the challenge of water. In the chambers of trial there shall be no record saved, and for that in itself is a challenge posed. That's what the tablet says. Sounds pretty mysterious. Why don't you read it for yourself, Kyle? So, the 3 challenges themselves are pretty literal. They are movement, combat, or otherwise type challenges. For instance, in this, you have to avoid the water spurts that the Gyarados are sending out at you. Otherwise, you'll get knocked down into the pit below, and you'll have to start the entire corridor over. Pretty straightforward. Kyle, you're soaking wet. Actually, I'm not much better. Better not catch a cold here. But here lies the start of the real boss fights. To the point where I think on Bulbapedia, they don't start listing boss fights until this area. Here we got 2 Kingdra. They hide under the water for a good amount of the fight. So if they're not outwardly visible, you're probably not going to be able to catch them. Thankfully, since they are counted as water type in this game and not water dragon, Minun is pretty effective here. Their only attack, besides hiding in the water, is a jet forward of water that's pretty fast and comes out pretty quickly. But out of everything you're going to be facing here, this is easily the easiest fight. Because the other things, oh boy. Kingdra will attack with strong jets of water when it appears above the surface. When you captured the Kingdra, the stone seal disappeared. We've cleared the first challenge. 1 down, 2 to go. And every time you do that, you get a health restore. Okay, let's head back. Notably, there's code in the game for the pedestal we saw that disappeared. That it actively can be destroyed by a field move of Water 3, which the Kingdra gives you, so you're probably meant to do that manually at some point early on in the game's development. But with that, I'm gonna need to end this off here. Thank you guys for watching, and in part 10, we take care of the rest of the challenges here in the Jungle Relic. See you guys then.